Brandon, I want to talk to you real quick about the F2 kind of state of the series here. And again, I wish we had Josh tonight because I'm sure he could provide some more insight on this. But anybody that's been following the F1 silly season news here knows that there's really two names that are standing out above everybody else. That's Andrea, Kimi, Antonelli with the current super license debate. What's Mercedes going to do with their young prospect there? And of course, Oliver Bearman filled in for Carlos Sainz earlier this year in the Ferrari. He's getting some rumors with a potential Haas seat. Who knows what's going to happen there? But Bearman is actually still, even after just running one race, higher in the F2 points, or excuse me, higher in the F1 points than he is over in F2. Whereas Antonelli also still looking for that first career podium in Formula 2, despite the fact that he is being so highly touted as a potential F1 superstar. What does it say about the current state of Formula 2? But you have drivers like Paul Aaron, who don't seem to be getting much mention here in the F1 silly season talk. You had Teo Porcher, you had Felipe Drugovich win championships. They're still looking for an F1 opportunity. Oscar Piastri had to sit out a year. The last F2 champion to go right into Formula 1 was Mick Schumacher in 2020 for the 2021 season. And yet your two names that seem to be on F1 teams' radar right in the middle of the pack in the standings. What does that say about the ladder and the current state of the series?
It shows that it's a popularity contest sometimes and based on capital more than it is on actual driver talent behind the wheel. And I mean, that's kind of what we see across much of motorsports, but especially when you get to the motorsport elite, that is the FIA and Formula One, Formula Two, the ladder there into the Premier Series. It is vicious, and we've seen that in the past couple of years, especially, and also the lack of seats available going into F1 makes it even more entertainingly sad to watch sometimes too. How those things pan out over silly season. Yeah, you mentioned Jack Crawford, the American, just won the feature race. Don't even start about getting an American in the F1 grid because that's just been such a headache too. But yeah, it is broken pretty obviously, and they know it, and they're not planning to do anything about it, and that's just the way it goes.
You know, I brought this up briefly on the wrap-up show last night, but you know, again, like I said, and I tweeted this out as well a while back. I think we can confidently say, based on what happened to Nick DeVries, based on Colton Herta's recent run of form in IndyCar, and of course he did have a good run this weekend at Laguna Seca, but I think we can say, you know, thank God he didn't get the AlphaTauri seat, because I think it could have gone, I don't want to say definitively, but it probably would have gone pretty poorly. You know, Herta obviously has a lot of raw talent, a lot of pace, but I don't think Red Bull would have put up with, you know, such frequent crashing, assuming that had translated over to Formula One. Had Herta gotten that seat, probably would have been sacked mid-season, just like Nick DeVries was, just like, you know, Scott Speed and Sebastian Bourdais have been, you know, in the past over that Red Bull program. Really boom or bust for a lot of young drivers. At best, probably would have gone about as well as Logan Sargent's deal's gone. And if Herta had gotten that AlphaTauri seat, I have a feeling DeVries would have gotten the Williams seat, and who knows if Sargent would have ever gotten the F1 opportunity. So I think that, you know, it's probably in hindsight good that Herta stayed over in IndyCar with Andretti. But, you know, again, just talking about the super license deal, I mean, the guy was only, if I recall correctly, 8 points short of being super license eligible. And again, you know, people watching this can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you can compete in up to 10, or participate rather, in up to 10 FP1 sessions, which Sargent was doing to give himself a little bit more insurance in his final F2 season. Colton Herta could have done 8 FP1 sessions at the end of a year, and he could have gotten to 40 super license points. So he was on a path where if he really wanted to be super license eligible, there was a clear path forward for him to do that. And yet he was still told, no, that we're not going to issue an exemption for you. We're not going to let you onto the grid. But now potentially, and again, ironically for the American fan base, Logan Sargent's seat may be under threat in the middle of the season because Mercedes have requested an exemption to lower the age for Kimi Antonelli, who still doesn't have a podium in F2. And I'm not saying that, the kid's hype is completely undeserved. I'm not saying that he's not going to amount to anything. He absolutely could, but I don't think it's definitive yet. I don't think we've seen anything in this F2 season that has backed up that hype. And yet he seems to be on the brink of an F1 seat running, ninth in the championship right now, when he technically isn't even super license eligible. And he might take the seat of an American driver when another American driver couldn't get the same kind of exemption despite being only a few points short. I just think it rubs a lot of American fans the wrong way, and I think they have every right to be frustrated with the series, and that's on top of what's going on with Andretti Global right now. So we'll see. I mean, it's a great run for Jack Crawford. Juan Manuel Correa, I want to give him a shout out as well, being back on the podium. He races under the American flag as well with his dual nationality, so good run for him. We'll see. I don't think all hope is lost for American drivers in Formula One, but again, you look at the current situation right now, it does leave you scratching your head a little bit.
Yeah, and that's right. Antonelli is 9th in points currently, and
there you go.
Yeah, and it's kind of odd that Bearman, excuse me, whether that's correct or not, is his teammate. That they're the ones being
I believe so.
Consideration.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Prima.
I mean, you don't have. Yeah, well, but again, there's also. It's funny how these things work sometimes. We're hearing some rumors potentially that Prima may be offering Logan Sargent one of their IndyCar seats. Again, we haven't heard a super reputable, noteworthy outlet jump on that. We're hearing some smaller outlets saying that they're hearing those rumors. So until that's confirmed, obviously we won't jump on that too much here. But that could be a potential landing spot for Logan Sargent. We'll see. But again, that's kind of just to reiterate. I'm not saying Antonelli, doesn't deserve the hype, but can we at least let the kid get a podium first? I mean, I can't imagine being a 17 or 18-year-old kid here and just, having, the weight of the world and expectations of the world on your shoulders like this. And, it hasn't been all sunshine and roses here in Formula 2 for him to start the year. And I can't imagine that all that pressure that he's feeling from the Mercedes faithful, wondering could he be the one that replaces Lewis Hamilton of all people going to Ferrari? I just feel like that's an enormous amount of pressure to put on somebody so young, so early in their career, and it could come back to bite them.
Yeah, and one more boomer thing from me. Born in 2006, about to potentially replace Lewis Hamilton.
Well, but Hamilton's going to Ferrari, and the guy that replaced Sainz, who Hamilton is replacing at Ferrari next year in the one race this season. Now, Ollie Bearman was born in 2005, so I mean, again, that's
I mean that's just the age now. I mean,
makes us feel old here, and we're still
got minor league ball players that are our age and younger, way younger, 2001. So
well, our own Kobe Lambeth in the chat room as well tonight. Good to see you, Kobe. Road to F1 ladder system isn't working. F2 is becoming a feeder series for IndyCar, Formula E, and sports car racing.
That's right.
Not F1. And sums it up very well. And you hate it for Pourchaire as well, on the subject of IndyCar and F2 champions and McLaren. And, I mentioned during the Indy Next rundown, Nolan Siegel, I think being taken out of a championship equation right now makes Louis Foster a title favorite. But Siegel, now being at that McLaren seat, Pourchaire, I mean, how do you think he feels right now? Being not being able to get an F1 seat and then thinking he's got a deal set with McLaren. I mean, I've lost track of who all's been in that McLaren seat, just the number 6 car alone. If Zach Brown had gotten his way, I guess Alex Palou was going to be in there, but you had David Malukas not even end up making a single start. And then you go with Ilott and Pourchaire, and now, Siegel. I mean, it's hard to keep track of everybody that's either been in that seat or been rumored for that seat here in the last just 2 or 3 years.